Folks, when we talk about medicines, there's a couple different combinations or categories, Although not technically medicines, there are supplements which you can buy without a prescription, mostly. There's over-the-counter medicines, and then there's prescription. This requires a prescription. However, it's not hard to find without one. I went to a grocery store for, the Latin American community, and I purchased this without a prescription. This is amoxicillin. For those of you who do not speak Spanish, pharmaceutical grade. This emblem up here is GlaxoSmithKline. They're a very prominent pharmaceutical company all over the world. I don't know why this is happening. I don't know why you can walk into certain stores and buy prescription medicine without a prescription. This, folks, is not good. This is an antibiotic, meaning if you take this, it will kill bacteria that may be infecting your beautiful little body. But other bacteria in or around your body may see this chemical, and they will become resistant to it. Now the trade-off is very much obvious here. If you have an infection, we very much would rather you get better from that infection at the risk of some of the bacteria becoming resistant. There's no question. Where this becomes a problem is when people misuse an antibiotic. And having unbridled access to antibiotics, such as amoxicillin, can indeed create that. What happens is somebody is sick. They buy amoxicillin. They take it, probably incorrectly. And in doing so, they don't get better. And instead, all the bacteria in their body and in around them become resistant to the amoxicillin. And they don't get better because they never had a bacterial infection to begin with. It happens. And then somebody else who has a bacterial infection will get amoxicillin, either through a prescription or, I guess, at a particular grocery store. And when they take it, it won't work. Because so many people have used this and used this and used this before they did, that the bacteria that is now infecting them has seen it over and over and over again, and they no longer are susceptible to it. This is called antimicrobial resistance, and it is a huge problem. I think a good litmus test is to ask somebody if you should have unabated access to antibiotics. And if they say yes, they have no idea what they're talking about. Hospitals in this country are almost useless, I'm exaggerating, whenever it comes to infections. Everything has been used so much that these bacteria no longer are susceptible. Try getting a UTI once. Get a UTI, go to the hospital, have them run a culture, and it will be resistant to nothing except things that are incredibly expensive or are an injection, which is not in the highest ideals of treating a UTI. Because people misuse, they go to their doctor and they whine, and then they leave a bad review when the doctor doesn't prescribe them what they want. And it's a mess. Judicious prescribing of antibiotics is very important. And by the way, that's in America where you need a prescription for this type of stuff. Even needing a prescription, it is still like overused. Well, I guess it was, probably not so much anymore. But some of them are useless in some communities. What do you do? How would you feel, by the way, if you had an infection and every single thing the bacteria was not susceptible to? How would you feel then as a patient? Probably not the best. It's difficult for the average person to distinguish between a viral and a bacterial infection. This will not help a viral infection. Viruses have different genetics. But anyway, let's take a look at it. Amoxil, probably derived from the chemical name amoxicillin. Amoxicillin. I pronounced that like I was Italian for some reason. If somebody could pronounce this in the comments, I'd appreciate it. Is it Spanish? I don't even know. It's got to be Spanish, right? 500 milligram per 5 ml, a fine concentration. A very fine concentration. Now, I do not know what any of this says, so we're just going to take a look at it. There's something endearing about a glass bottle, is it not? It's professional. It's hard. It's sturdy. I love it. I love a good glass bottle. You know, the ones that we use in America, they're plastic. Well, okay, for amoxicillin, they're always plastic. There are a few glass ones here and there. I think clindamycin, is glass. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Now this, what was shocking me about this was two things. First of all, it comes with this cute little shovel. You love to see it. I think this is so adorable. This is how you measure the liquid after you mix it up. Just put it on this little shovel and you just put it down your little kiddo's throat. I don't know. I think this makes it more fun for the kid to take. Because, you know, liquid is typically for kiddos. But adults can take liquid amoxicillin. There's nothing wrong with that at all. this is what was, I guess, very interesting to me. Whenever we dispense this in America, it says on the label how much water to put in, and you just open the cap, and we have these little machines. And actually, I wish I was the idiot who invented these machines, because I bet they make tons of money. Because you have to have maintenance every month or whatever. And when you get, I'm calling it a machine, but it's nothing more than just a gallon of distilled water with a siphon. But the maintenance that they have to do every month, I mean, it's an idiot could do it, right? You literally just make sure it's working and maybe change one tube or something. That was a business I wish I would have thought of. I bet they're making a killing with that. No risk at all. All you have to do is show up and look at the little contraption. But it'll tell you, 68 ml or something, and then you dial it up, and then you put it in, you shake it up, okay? This has a fill to line. And I don't speak Spanish. Maybe someone can tell me. What's confusing me, and this is another reason why people really shouldn't have access to antibiotics like this, well, I guess the fact that this is an antibiotic doesn't really matter, but the fact that it has to be reconstituted maybe might not be a good idea. How do you know you're at that line? It sounds stupid, right? If I were to pour water in here, there'd be probably about this much powder, and the water would sit on top of the powder, and then it would move up to this line, and you would shake it, and then the total volume would go down here as the powder would disperse in the liquid. I'm assuming that what this means is you're supposed to put probably half of the water in, shake it up really good, and then complete the fill up to this line, and then shake it up really good, and then just make sure that it's still at that line and add a little bit more. I'm assuming that's how you're supposed to do that. But I can see somebody filling this up to this line, shaking it up, and then, because it wasn't really dissolved to begin with, they would be getting an improper dose. This is 500 milligram per 5 ml. If you did not put enough water in, it would be, I don't know, 600-700 milligram per 5 ml or something like that. And then when you measure it out on your little shovel here, it may not be the correct amount of amoxicillin. It would be probably more than. I bet what some people do is they just open it and fill it up to what they like it to, and then just shake it up, probably. Good old amoxicillin. Good for bacterial infections. Not good for viral infections. This caught my eye. Tukol. I think that sounds really cool. We have a nighttime noche, honey, multi-symptom, cold and flu. As a trained professional, cold and flu means nothing to me. I feel like anybody can put that on any package. Quite frankly, I think it's misleading. When you look at the active ingredients here, you have acetaminophen, good for muscle pain, good for fever. If you do have a cold and flu, you probably are pretty achy. Dextromethorphan, which is a cough suppressant, kinda isn't the best. Kinda not really my favorite, but it's okay. interacts with antidepressants can cause something called serotonin syndrome. It can do it, folks. With antidepressants on itself, I'm not really sure if it could really do that. I'm not entirely sure. What does grape eat risk? Oh, that's probably cold and flu. I thought that said grape. Okay, anyway. And then doxylamine. Doxylamine is maybe a chemical I think I kind of like nowadays. Doxylamine is a first-generation antihistamine. It is quite similar to Benadryl or diphenhydramine. So being first generation, well, being an antihistamine, it blocks histamine, okay? Histamine is released in response to several different things, really. But when you block histamine, as this does, it reduces that kind of allergic reaction, watery eyes, runny nose, a skin rash due to histamine release, it would help with that. It's an allergy med, really. But for whatever reason in the United States, we have decided that doxylamine is mostly for sleep. Because it's first generation, it means it crosses the blood-brain barrier. And it also has an anticholinergic effect, which can make you tired. I will say tired, not sleepy. So all of these in combination aren't really that far-fetched. It is very possible somebody has aches and a fever for the acetaminophen. It's very possible they have a cough for the dextromethorphan. And it's possible they have a runny nose and they want to get a good night's rest for doxylamine. What I don't like about these combination products is that if you are feeling all three symptoms, it's likely one's going to get better than the other two. And then you wouldn't need one of those chemicals. Maybe your cough goes away. I don't want people to be taking dextromethorphan if they don't have a cough. You know what I mean? So I typically recommend buying acetaminophen by itself, buying dextromethorphan by itself, and buying doxylamine by itself. However, one thing to note is doxylamine does not come in a liquid by itself. I don't know why. I have no idea why. And that way you have all three products that you can sort of mix and match as your symptoms indicate. And also later in life maybe you only have muscle pain. Well, you wouldn't want to take this then because it'll make you drowsy and you'll be pumping yourself with doxylamine or dextromethorphan as well. So you would only want the acetaminophen portion. And if you had all three separately, then you could of course do that. Headache, sore throat, fever. This is mostly from the acetaminophen part. Minor aches and pains, also from the acetaminophen part. Sneezing, runny nose, that is from the doxylamine portion. And cough, that is dextromethorphan. It's not going to help the cold and flu virus. It only reduces these symptoms. Which is good, it's fine. Temporary relief reduce these common cold and flu symptoms, so it does specify here. Sore throat, headache, minor aches and pains. Well, I mean, this is the exact same thing I just read here. Runny nose and sneezing. Cough due to minor throat and bronchial irritation. Temporarily reduces fever. We got the Spanish part here. Can't be reading that. And here's the directions. Adults and children 12 and older, 30 ml every 6 hours. And each 30 ml will give you 650 milligrams of acetaminophen. That's a really high dose. I like it. It'll give you 30 milligrams of dextromethorphan. That's a lot. I like it. It'll give you 12.5 milligrams of doxylamine. Let's open it up and take a look. Oh, tactfully. Do note that acetaminophen can cause liver issues if you exceed 4 grams per day. That's bad. Half of all liver failure cases in the U.S. are due to acetaminophen toxicity. Doxylamine will make you drowsy. That could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what's going on with you. All of these factors have to be considered. It's not a just take this and feel better.